Well, it's been female faces on the cover of Women's Day magazine for the past 30 years. Until now, gracing the publication's May issue is KITV4's own Dr. Mehmet Oz. And he joins us live this morning via Skype with more. Good morning and aloha, Dr. Oz.
Aloha, good morning. It was a great honor, I say. The last man apparently on the cover was President Kennedy, so I think we're in good company. But I think the big reason the magazine invited me to participate in this issue is that so many women are complaining about lack of energy. So we actually chart out a course that I hope will help a lot of folks. We walk you through the big pitfalls in your day-to-day life that might be holding you back from it showing up in your own life. And then I walk you through some of my home remedies, things I do in my own life to stay healthy.
You know, I talk to so many women, and the big problem is, people just can't fall asleep. You're so busy throughout the day, you're struggling to get your kids asleep, and then by the time you get to bed yourself, your brain is just wired. So, any solutions for that?
Oh, I've got tons of solutions. Some of them we talk about actually in the Women's Day piece, but also on tomorrow's show, which is about energy. I got to say a couple of things. First off, caffeine, which a lot of folks grab for first thing in the morning and they use it all day long, it stays in your system. And so if you have any caffeine in your body, especially after 12 noon, you have not given it enough time to get out, so that'll keep you jazzed up. Secondly, I like melatonin. It actually does work, but you want to use it earlier than most people use it. So take melatonin at dinner time, because it takes a couple hours to go from your stomach to your brain. And finally, take a very small dose of melatonin, maybe half a milligram or a milligram. That small dose is all you really need. Any more than that will throw you in the wrong direction.
Well, that's great advice. And, I know a lot of people had some questions for you on our Facebook page. And one of the questions was, can I still eat my plate lunches? That's a local favorite here. It's usually some sort of a fried meat, white rice, and macaroni salad. So is there any room in the diet for something like that?
There's not much room in my diet anyway, and I talk about that a little bit again in the piece. Listen, here's the reality. When you give yourself simple carbohydrates, the white foods that, in that typical Hawaiian lunch, you're sending a message to your hormones to start jacking up the insulin secretion. It changes how your steroids are released. So all of a sudden, you're going on this roller coaster ride for the rest of the day. You'll be hungry again in 2 hours. It doesn't have the staying power to keep you going through the afternoon. Your energy will sag, and in addition, you'll generally overeat. So instead, you want to have a whole grain for lunch. Any whole grain, frankly. There's barley. You can use rye. It doesn't have to just be wheat whole grains. Pick something that you like. Could be local as well. But that staying power of having fiber in your belly will keep you satiated, so you'll feel better about yourself. And that's a big message. Again, I'm going to hammer home this theme. Much of this is about realizing that you're worth it. And so it's being assertive that we're talking about. So everyone in your family or at work is eating the same thing and it's not good for them. You be the one who steps out and says, you know what, I'll put my hand up. We're going to go in a different direction. We'll do something that we think is better for my health, and you guys can come along with me.
And Dr. Oz, I know you were here on vacation a few months ago, and you got to interact and meet some of the local people. What's the biggest health threat, do you think, that's facing the local Native population?
Well, what I loved about Hawaii, and I've been there many times, and I'll be back many more times, is your love for life. You realize that your heart has to have a reason to keep beating or it won't. So you have purpose. You have the hard part done. Ironically, it's the simple stuff, the habits we have in the foods we eat, as an example, in Hawaii that cause the problems. And I think obesity, because genetically, many of the people who live in Hawaii are not designed to be able to deal with abundance of food. So if you have too much of the simple carbohydrates, the processed foods that are so easily available, obesity starts. And that obesity rapidly results in diabetes, high blood pressure, and bad cholesterol. And that is, stripping the state budget as people get sick earlier and require more medical care. So if you want to take care of people around you and yourself, just focus on that one simple issue, which is your waistline. And don't forget the recipe for success. Your waist size should be less than half your height. You can do the math, everyone at their own. Works for men and women and for kids. So how tall are you?
I'm 5'5".
So you have 5 times 12 is 60 inches, plus 5, 65 inches. Divided in half, 32.5 inches. So if your waist size is less than 32.5 inches, you are good to go.
Okay. I'm glad you did the math this early in the morning, Dr. Oz, because that's very complicated for me right now. But one last question, what's the one health tip that you can give people here? I mean, we love your show, and I know you're working on a lot of different topics on your show. So what's the one health tip that you can give us, and what's coming up on your show?
So I've traveled around the world looking for people who live the longest, and I was blessed one of these trips to run into the guys who wrote the Blue Zones. And they looked at people who lived to age 100. And those people across the board are people who do daily, vigorous physical activity. In Hawaii, we're blessed with good weather to be able to do that and a landscape that allows it. So go out and get some activity in. I'm not talking about a soft stroll through the woods. I'm talking about a little bit of vigorous activity that gets your heart rate up. That is the #1 key to longevity, and you'll feel proud of yourself as well. And this week on our shows, we are focusing on a lot of those themes. We've got metabolism boosters, a big weight loss show on Thursday, and I'm, of course, always focusing on your questions for me, some of the most awkward, most grossest questions on tomorrow's show. Let me give you one highlight real quick.
Okay.
A lot of people, 90% of Americans pick their nose. I hate to admit it.
Okay.
So don't say everyone doesn't. They do. 10% of us put it in our mouth.
Oh.
Now, that's really gross, but the question this early in the morning is that really bad for you or not? That's the question, and we're going to address a bunch more like that on the show on Wednesday.
All right, my guess, even though it's disgusting, because, you know, I've got a 2.5-year-old son, my guess is that it's not that bad for you, but we'll have to watch the show to find out, right?
Exactly.
Okay, Dr. Mehmet Oz, it's great to talk to you this morning, and hope you can come back to the island soon.
Looking forward to it. Take care.
You too. And to see this interview again, you can head to the top videos section of our website, KITV.com. And don't forget, you can see Dr. Oz at 4 o'clock right here on KITV4. It is 5:40. We'll be right back.